Hello, Boris Pravisham here, and welcome to this rather clumsily decorated foyer, I guess you'd call it, a reception. A reception to what, you might be asking? Well, this is going to be my new block of flats. Some space apartments. I am building this. Firstly, we have to... Who ruined my button? I think it's this one. Reverse. We've got to call the lift. So the lift shall be... All my buttons have been removed. I wonder who did that. And then I think we'll stop on the second floor on the way back down. So we have 3 floors currently. The top, second, and... Well, I'm not sure if I'll add anything after that. Walk out here, and we've got the start of a walkway. This is where some apartments are going to be going. I'm building the apartments because you can see the ferry station. I had a few encouraging comments. Thank you for your suggestions and ideas. They've encouraged me to continue building this project and instead of giving up on it. I'm still not entirely sure about its feasibility, but down there you can see a massive line. That was all built out to help with the trigonometry of everything. That is my massive shrine to trigonometry, as I've called it. It is only temporary. It was just simply to work out where everything was, because over this the power's run out on that station down there again. It uses so much power. I wonder what Chess has put in there. For those that don't know, there's this station up here, which is the Barack Obama platform, and down there is the Justice platform, I believe Chess called it, and I wanted to link the two with some sort of a transport system, because down there would make a very nice factory. I wanted to make the transport system as automated as possible, so to use a ferry. The reason I'm not, doing anything, even though this is technically, no, I think I removed, I chopped it off because that station drained so much power. We actually lost power to this station because of that one. But they're actually connected, the two of them, well, apart from that single block there. So I could theoretically run a pipeline down on an angle, even using this angle. But I decided against that because that's going to take a long time. And if meteors come back on, they're off at the moment, but if we decide to turn the meteors back on, then it's just sitting out there in the open, and we'd have to defend the entire thing. So I'd rather have a ferry tucked away in a hangar, sitting there waiting to be used with maybe a Gatling turret on the top, although I don't, it should be travelling fast enough to, between storms. It shouldn't be too much of a problem. I think under this I will run some footage I recorded earlier in a creative copy of this world. That was before this behemoth was built. And what I've done, if I can recall correctly, I did record over the top of that, but my microphone apparently didn't work. But what I've done is I had 2 lines all the way from each of these platforms. The reason that I did that, they're not connected. The one on the left-hand side, I believe, is connected to the top platform, and the one on the right-hand side down to the bottom platform, and they were to line up each of those 2 angled platforms as closely as possible. There's one up the top and one down the bottom. I believe, what did I call them? So ferry station A is down the bottom and B is up the top. Because we're talking about a distance of around about 1,700, 1,800 meters, the 0.001 of a degree difference on either of these rotors is enough to send the ferry just enough off course over this distance to not hook up on the other side correctly. And more than that, I mean, just when I was fiddling around with it, the ferry was missing by 100 meters or more by the time it got down there. So I spent a lot of time just fiddling, and I started out, that's why this great giant big thing, connecting the two, was so that I could line it up. There was no way I could line things up without building that. Partly because the astronauts, for some reason, don't actually fly in a completely straight line. They also go up a tiny bit. But because, again, over such a long distance, if the mouse is slightly off-centered when you try and fly directly forward, then again you'll be off at the other end, and there was simply no way that I could get that to line up. So I had to build this long line to get these exactly, without a coordinate system to guide me. And by standing on that point down there, I was able to measure up to there, measure over to there, work out the distance for all sides and the angles for all sides. The only problem is that even if you, obviously using Pythagoras' theorem, because this is a voxel-based game, where each of these large blocks is 2.5 meters in length, it means that base unit, you've got to use that base unit. It makes it difficult to get an exact measurement. I was always about 3-5 meters off, somewhere around there. So I could get it close, and then I sort of had to trial and error my way to something very close. Now, back in the creative world, you can see that both of those lines are as close together as I could get them. And with testing, they seem to be close enough. Now, I'm going to skip to the part where I release the ship that I've got attached to a merge block. Now, that ship is perfectly balanced. All of the sides are exactly equal. It's just got an artificial mass block at the front. It needs to be at the front, by the way. You can't put it at the back, otherwise the gravity will try and flip it around the other way and you end up facing backwards. And then there's a gravity generator on the station behind it. So by clicking the button, which is connected up to the merge block on the station, the station it's not actually a station, it's a ship attached to a rotor, but you get what I mean. By pressing that button, you can see it sets off. That button released the merge block, allowing the gravity to push it away, and it is traveling exactly along the line of the blocks in the background. So it's in a straight line, and if we go to the end, you see it's still down there. It's still traveling in a straight line some 1,500 odd meters later, and then it hits the gravity on the station down there and flies away, but obviously that won't be there. The problem is, now I'll cut to another clip I shot, which is of the same ship except with one single block at the front. Now that is enough to significantly affect the balance. It will pull it up. So if I release it, and you can see away it goes. It starts to travel up, and that's obviously unacceptable. That's going to miss by hundreds of meters. So the question was how to get that to go in a straight line. Now, as far as I could see it, and obviously if you have different ideas, let me know. I've already incorporated many of them already. And thank you very much for that. The two options, as I see, is either to build a perfectly balanced ship. That is, remembering that items inside a cargo container, there will be a large cargo container inside the ship, with connectors on either end, and connectors on the stations, the docking areas, so that you can transport goods back and forward. And it's good that items inside of cargo containers, as well as astronauts sitting in seats, aren't counted as weight. So that is helpful in trying to create a perfectly balanced ship. But it is still a bit annoying to have to make everything perfectly symmetrical. However, I was talking to Chessmaster on the weekend. We were together playing on the server, and he's the sort of person where if you mention a problem, he will go and fix it for you. It was very handy. He came up with the idea to rifle it, to have it spinning like the bullet in a rifle. so that as it leaves the station, it will spin constantly all the way to the other end. Now, of course, this spinning cancels out any upward movement because it's dragging in every direction. His tests, I haven't actually seen them. He did it in his own creative copy. He said his tests seem to have worked out, although he needs to play with the speed. And I also need to help design a gravity brake system. Now, again, don't be surprised if none of this works. We're making this up as we go along. But it seems hopeful. Also, if this doesn't work, we might just, put a train, like a rail track all the way up, or we might just, fly ships and give up on the problem. But yes, that's where we are so far. 2 perfectly aligned platforms, 18 or 1700 meters away, whatever it is, and lots of things to test. But anyway, back to where we started, and that was the apartment blocks. The reason that they appeared is because I needed a way to get out to this ferry. It had to be in a direct line with the other station. So it had to be all the way out here, away from the station. This station up here, I mean the Barack Obama platform. So I needed some sort of like a tunnel or something to get there. It looked a bit silly, just sticking out the side. So I'm going to build around it. And what better project to have than to build some space flats or apartments or whatever your version of English dictates. The original idea I had was just to have some cramped feeling apartments with some garages, some hangars for you to park your ship in, and I was trying to make them sort of a bit cramped, not in actuality just look a bit, because an apartment isn't exactly large. Plus, to give everyone a spot for themselves, as there are some people who aren't, who can't come on this server as regularly, but are whitelisted, and when they come on, they look around and notice everything's changed, and they don't want to touch anything, for fear of ruining it for someone else. So what I was going to do is give them a space. So I'm going to build a few, rooms and a few hangars in here with, all working doors and stuff like that, so people can decorate their own little areas and make their ships in their own place and have their own cargo containers that aren't connected to the rest of the system. And they would be able to lock their doors and, make use of all the privacy stuff. Of course, they could also set off, out to their own place to live. For example, the asteroid down there, something like that. But that doesn't seem to have been a popular choice yet. So we seem to be sticking around this station. As usual, when I started this, I decided I was going to make everything, a little bit cozy. I was going to have, like I started down here, smaller sort of walkways and stuff like that, because I have a tendency to make things overly large, which isn't particularly good on a server. And the first thing that I did, obviously, is to make a massive rectangle. So I'm hoping to not actually fill that out. I want to make some, nooks and crannies and just not make it a rectangle. I might sort of curve it off that way and, have some bits sticking off the side and that. I don't know. I'll make it up as I go along. I seem to have received some interest already in my new choice as a builder and real estate agent. A few people have booked themselves in for taking a room. I'm going to move in as well, have my own little area. I think there's going to be, at least on the more expensive apartments, a front door that will open into a hangar, as well as a back door that will open into a larger hall for ships, that is, that will be able to fly in and out. And you could see I had the little reception there and the lift going up and down. We can just hop back up in there. The reception area is rather clumsily decorated at the moment, which brings me onto my next point. I've added a few more mods to the server. The idea is to keep it vanilla, but I mean, the game can get a bit frustrating in its alpha stages, and there is a bit of a lack of aesthetic blocks. So they've added in some good mods. I can't remember the authors of all these. If I remember, I'll put them in the description below. They're good ones. A little waiting area in there. Got a coffee machine, and this is supposed to be a sort of counter, but it's from the mess hall pack, and this is the best thing I could get to a chair. So it's all a little bit clumsy, but it's better than an empty room. So you would walk in from the station, and this is how you would get down to your room on one of the 2 floors. Oh, and while I'm at it, there seems to be a rumour going around the server that I'm only making these apartments in order to spy on people with the newly added camera blocks. I would like to quash that rumour. It is slanderous and incorrect, and that is definitely not my intention. So I would appreciate it if some of the more gossipy members of the server would stop suggesting such things. But anyway, I think that's all I've got to show you at the moment. This was just another little bit of an update. You see, things change quite quickly. Even though the most regular members of the server had to you couldn't play, including me, very much over the past week, quite a lot changes quite quickly. So I think I'll do these little update videos as well as another video to show me actually doing something. What's this? The HMS Bastard. Not the prettiest of ships, but functional. And the HMS Lard. They're both Ed's ship from the YouTube channel Ferryland. It got a makeover because I had a little bit of an accident on more than one occasion. Firstly, I crashed her into another ship, I believe, and broke about half of it. And then I left it sitting in a corner, like, tends to happen. Well, I say that, but someone has stolen the drilling ship. I don't know if you remember, but there's usually a drilling ship stuck in the corner there. There's someone sitting over here. I didn't see it in the dark. It seems to be operational again. Falcus's Minor is back up. But yeah, he gave it he repaired it and gave it a new paint job and everything like that. And then in testing out my new antenna, I decided to... that's not the best way to get it. Piston. We should really clean this up. I decided, I'm not in anything at the moment. I can do this wirelessly. To close... I'm doing it again. Oh, crap. Oh, how do I get there? Well... I don't... I can't believe I did that twice. Yes, last time in testing out my door, that ship was parked halfway across the door and I crushed it and I had to rebuild it for a second time. Apparently Ed has a tendency to park halfway across the door because that's another of his ships, the HMS Nipper. So I don't think I damaged much. Did I damage anything? No, it looks alright. Okay, hopefully Ed doesn't watch this video. That didn't happen. I'll just sort of park it down a little bit. Ooh, careful. Yeah, and over like that. Apologies for the train going past. And so it's out of the road of the door. I'm just going to wait for this train. So, new rule, no one parks their ship halfway across the door. It's lucky I didn't crush a second of his ships. He barely forgave me for doing it the first time. But anyway, I will start building on these, on well, whatever this turns out to be, and I'll get back to you maybe later in the week. I don't know. Thank you for watching, though. I hope you're enjoying what's happening on the server so far. Let me know if there's something I should be doing differently. I do appreciate the suggestions. Goodbye.